Hello and welcome to the Dublin Arsenal preview show. I'm your host, Jonathan Giles. On the show tonight, I'm joined by Eamonn Donnelly, an avid West Ham fan, Martin Hullett, to preview another massive London derby this Saturday at 5:30 live on Sky Sports Premier League. So sit back and enjoy the show. As I said in my intro, I'm joined by my regular guest for the preview and review shows at this stage. Arsenal season ticket holder and avid Arsenal fan, Eamonn Donnelly. How are you, pal?
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Martin. I decided to sell me Hoover there. It was just gathering dust. I saw a fella today, and he spilled out a box of Scrabble onto the road. I haven't got the word on the street yet. How you doing? Hey, Martin.
How are you, mate?
As always, Eamonn has a cracker of a start to the show. It's those brief few moments has the views up the way they are. So, as always, Eamonn, thanks for coming on. I'm also joined by avid West Ham fan, as I said, Martin Hullett from the UK. How are you, pal?
Evening, gents. Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on, Martin, and all thanks to Eamonn, another away fan from another away club, all going well for the preview show, which is in another massive London derby coming up in a couple of days' time now. This coming Saturday at 5:30 on Sky Sports. I suppose to yourself, Martin, as we ask every away supporter, why West Ham, pal?
Well, actually, I'm from southeast London. So my local team would have been Charlton or Millwall, actually. But my dad was or is a West Ham fan, so I had no choice really. I was a West Ham fan before I even followed football, and then just grew with it. So yeah, I started going to games in maybe the mid '90s. And that's when it really sort of took hold of me. But always West Ham.
West Ham till I die, as they say.
Yeah.
In terms of our previous meetings last season, Martin, you've done us 2-0 at the Emirates in December when we were having our sticky patch, and then we gave you the 6-0 battering at your own place in February. Declan Rice scored a screamer that day, but kept the celebrations down. What did you make, briefly, Martin, of the home and away fixtures for yourself? Obviously, the away one was kind of coming to the end of the reign there, but what did you make of those two fixtures yourself?
Yeah, it's a funny one. Historically, going into playing Arsenal, there's not really much hope from a West Ham point of view. We're not the most confident, but recently a couple of results have gone our way. Sort of become a bit of a bogey side for you lot on occasion, but I don't generally hold out much confidence, especially the last couple of seasons. The way you guys are building and and progressing, especially this season. I'm not entirely confident about Saturday's game, but I'd say we've had a fair few wins over the last few seasons, so I'm not entirely disappointed.
But I should tell the listeners that Martin and I are kind of Martin and I are kind of extended family, and anytime I bring him to the Emirates when we're playing West Ham, they win. Simple.
Yeah. Funny enough, do you remember the first time we met, Amo? At the Emirates, we was in the box watching.
He was in the box. That was the day we met John Radford. Yeah. And that was the opening game of the season. The check was just after signing for us, and it was a 2-0 win, as I remember. We were in the corporate box with my dad that time. Yeah.
Well, West Ham won 2-0. Reece Oxford on his, I think that was his debut or his first full game, and played out of his skin that game. Yeah.
I think he's won 2-0 that day, didn't you? Lanzini scored, I think. Yeah. And Kuyate, I think it was two mistakes by Petr Cech, actually, I think that day. Yeah. It was an open day. Yeah. It was. With Lopetegui in, Martin, and you've signed, you had in the summer Max Kilman joined you, and Guilherme of the Brazilian lads. Jared Bowen and Kudus are two really good players from last season. I think the only way is up in terms of their progress. What have you made of the new manager start in your first 11 games, Martin?
It's. I mean, we should have more of should have a good judge of him now, but it's still too early for me. I just hope they give him a chance, because I know there's all this talk of already talk of the S word of him getting sacked, and it's crazy. I mean, I was never in the Moyes out brigade either.
Yeah.
But I understand it got to a point where just a change for change's sake was quite good, and I think it will benefit us in the long run. But Lopetegui, I was quite excited, especially with some of the players we were sort of getting in pre-season, and the noises he was making. He was saying all the right things, and build up to the season, I was really excited. The start hasn't been what anyone wanted, but we've got the players there. We've got a good squad now. We've had a good couple of European runs last couple of seasons, and it's not to be this season, but I think moving forward we've got a decent squad, and if they give them a chance, I think we could do something.
Well, you have a fairly good squad there, player-wise. The last couple of seasons have been good, signing-wise. What players excite you the most there at West Ham at the moment, Martin? That would get you up off your seat, like we have with Bukayo Saka and, say, Martin Odegaard as well. But Kudus is really a standout player, isn't he, for his pace-wise? And
Kudus, and Paquetá over the last couple of seasons. Kudus especially. I mean, I think he had his ban extended, so he won't be playing in the Arsenal game, which is good for you lot. But also the youngster, we signed, one of the signings during the summer was Somerville, and he hasn't had a lot of time, but every time he's on the ball, it looks like he can create something, and he's exciting to watch. So I think he'll be big for the club. So I'm excited about the young lad. But yeah, Kudus, I love him. I think he's great. Paquetá, while we've got him, I think he's a good player for us as well. Kudus, I'm worried about. I think he's going to get plucked away by another club at some stage. But at the moment, I'm pleased with the squad. I think we've got some real good players.
Yeah, to yourself as well, Eamonn. With David Moyes gone, it wasn't always the most attractive style of football, as Barton said, but it was certainly effective when they won the Europa Conference League. What have you made of West Ham yourself, Eamonn, over this season? Was it right to dismiss Moyes, even though his style of football, it was effective maybe for what West Ham are, with no disrespect or anything? What do you think, Eamonn?
Because of my family connections, I've been to West Ham a couple of times, and I'm fairly connected with how the fans feel and that. And I just think nobody was crying for his head, but I just thought it was a bit like Arsene. He'd done a wonderful job at West Ham, but it was coming to the point where it was done and dusted, And I'm glad that he went in the way he did. And he delivered that European trophy. I have a lot of time for David Moyes, but I've also a lot of time for West Ham for a number of reasons. Apart from the fact that Martin and my brother-in-law are season ticket holders, apart from all that, they have one common enemy with us, and that's Tottenham. They absolutely despise Tottenham, and I think that's something that Arsenal and West Ham fans always kind of laugh down our sleeve at. Who hates Tottenham more than each other, So I'm good with that. And I've enjoyed my few trips. Actually, I love the London Stadium as a stadium. It's a terrible place to go to because you have to walk through Stratford, and it's like going to Funderland, you have to go around all sorts of things. But it's a great stadium to be in. I've been there a few times now. And but the only thing I'll say in our favour, it's not Upton Park. It's not as tight. It's not as intimidating. I know there's a bigger crowd there and all, but it's not Upton Park. It's not the bowling ground, and but I have a lot of time for the Irons, you know.
Yeah, the uncanny thing really, I suppose, with West Ham, you bet us on the last season at Highbury. When Sol Campbell had that stinker of a night, and then in the opening fixture, in the first game at the Emirates, I think Bobby Zamora got the only goal after we battered about 30 shots, hadn't we, that day?
Bobby Zamora that was the first home game we lost at the Emirates. But
Robert Green had some game that day. I tell you, he must have saved 27 shots.
But in terms of West Ham this year, I think they're the weirdest team in the league. You know, they can be very, very good or very, very bad. If you look at the pattern of the season, they couldn't buy a home win earlier on, but they were winning away from home. And then they beat Man United and Ipswich at home. Okay, drew at Everton. So they haven't lost at home for a while. And then their away form fell through the floor. They were mortared at Tottenham. And they were beaten mortared at Forest as well away. So it's been a mixed bag. But again, it's a new manager. And the key for me at the weekend is what way will the Irons approach this game? If they approach it the way they approached the game against Man City at the end of August, I think we win the game because they let Man City have the ball. And I think West Ham are always at their best when they play front foot football. And if they do that, they can cause us a lot of problems. But if they decide that they're going to let us have the ball, I think they're only playing into our hands.
Yeah, so it's always a decent London derby, Merton, Arsenal, West Ham, either home or away. Where do you see the game being won and lost for yourselves in terms of the match this coming Saturday?
The King's Head.
The sticky.
Yeah, I mean, like Eamonn was saying, he's been to our place a couple of times, and I've been lucky enough to go with those guys and watch the games at the Emirates as well. And always a good night in the King's Head afterwards. A few nights to remember there. In terms of the game, like Eamonn said, really, I think it's if we go at it, I think we've got more of a chance. That was the reason, really, that Moyes was, some people wanted Moyes out. It's just the attacking style of football was lacking, and Lopetegui was meant to sort of remedy that, but hasn't really happened yet. So I'm not sure, but that's what we need to do, I think, to get anywhere on Saturday. And I think there'll be there'll be a little bit of confidence there just because of a couple of results over the past couple of seasons. But we'll see how it goes.
There's been many good fixtures, as I said, between the two clubs over the years, either at Upton Park or at the London Stadium or at Highbury or the Emirates. What's your favourite memories from down the years of this fixture, Martin, that stick out for you, and your favourite matches and goals, if you don't mind?
I'd say that one, that opener of the season. When was that? Was that Eamonn? That was
2016, mate.
2016 was it? I'd say that's pretty strong for me, because the first time I met, so Eamonn is my wife's uncle, and I'd met one or two of the family, but I was sort of dropped in and met the rest of a few of them at that match, and
we were so impressed. He was married within a year.
I guess so.
I said we were so impressive that you were married into the family within a year.
I know, yeah, that was it. It sealed it.
You don't know how lucky you are.
Yeah. But we was there, and Eamonn's brother-in-law Steve. I go to the matches with. Now we got our seats next to each other, so we were both there, and trying to sort of contain our. We didn't jump up and celebrate when the goals went in. We were trying to be trying to be respectful, but that was a great game. It was good then because Reece Oxford was such an exciting prospect,
He looked really good that day.
Yeah, it didn't work out, with Oxford and West Ham, but I just enjoyed that game. I got to meet, got to meet a lot of people that would turn out to play an important role. But previous to that,
and Martin, not only that, you got to the King's Head.
Yeah, that was my first time at the King's Head, first of many. I'll remember that as well. Like Amo said, there's a connection with West Ham and Arsenal, I think, because of the mutual sort of dislike for Spurs. Although with West Ham, I'm not sure where that came from. It seems to spring out of nowhere. You guys have got local rivalry.
The Alan Pardew, Arsene Wenger moment. Remember when you bet us 1-0 and when Pardew celebrated in front of him? That kind of ignited the fixture as well, I think.
But Martin, over the years, you see, if you go back to the 1960s and 70s, right, West Ham's natural rivals would have been Leyton Orient because they're beside you, but they never harmed anybody. But really, Millwall and West Ham would have been the big rivalry because there was that whole they're the other end of the tunnel and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that West Ham had a pretty lively firm of supporters back in the day, as had Millwall, and there was always that. But I think when it came to the Premier League, you weren't going to be playing Millwall, you weren't going to be playing Orient. And Tottenham, every club in London can't stand Tottenham for some reason. And just take your Arsenal and West Ham glasses off. They just can't, But if you look at the geography, the Tottenham catchment area, it's heading into East London.
Yeah.
Call it the North London derby, but from Hackney East is a big Tottenham catchment area, and It's the natural Premiership rivalry, I think.
Well, they wanted our stadium, didn't they? Before it was all agreed. Leyton Orient were in the mix, and Spurs were in the mix, which is crazy. There was uproar amongst West Ham fans moving from the bowling to the new place. But it's all in the same borough. They wanted to move from Haringey to Newham. It just wouldn't have worked at all. But I wasn't really behind that move until I knew Spurs wanted it. Then I was all about the new place. And that moving to a stadium like that is just the price of progress, I think. I mean, when you guys moved, you moved to a purpose-built stadium, so first impressions were better. With ours, it wasn't ready for football when we moved in, and so it didn't set a great first impression, especially for away fans. It's not the best away day, from what I can gather, but it's better now, and it's actually not a bad football stadium now.
Yeah, on that as well, Martin. Have the die-hard West Ham fans, have they taken to the London Stadium like they would have with Upton Park? Does it feel like a home now?
It's funny because there's 30-odd thousand extra bums on seats, and when we're playing well and the atmosphere is kicking in, like when we beat Spurs, or there's been a few games over the years, and that place is amazing. And it's jumping. Everyone's out of their seats, and
Martin, the European nights when you were heading for that trophy,
that was amazing as well.
Yeah.
So on nights like that, you couldn't imagine it being anywhere else. And as I say, 34,000 odd people at the bowling could conjure the same sort of atmosphere, because you were right on top of everything. But it is the price of progress. You need to get moved to a bigger place to get more money to buy bigger players, and it's just the way it is. The romance, the charm of football is getting lost nowadays because of that price that everyone's paying to get into the big leagues, and So we sort of rolled with it. The general feeling now, I think, is a bit better than initially when we moved, just because the stadium they've chipped away at it. There's more seats. They're closer to the pitch. They still use it for athletics, and it gets, they have to roll all the seats back, and it's a big rigmarole. But it's predominantly reserved for the football now, and it's decent. When we're playing bad, it's not great. You can hear how quiet it is, and all you can hear is the away fans. But when the players are playing well, when the team's doing well, and we're getting the results, it's a great place to be.
Would you also like, Martin, as well, with the Women's Super League really taking off, and a lot of the major clubs have allowed the women's team like ourselves play in the men's ground. Would you like to see the West Ham women's team playing in the London Stadium to give them a bit more exposure? Do you think, does the club have the same belief as the other clubs have in their women's team?
I couldn't talk to that. I mean, I'm ashamed to say I don't follow it ever so closely. I know that Westham did sort of invest a bit of time and effort into it recently, and the young lad Jack Sullivan was involved in the women's team, the owner's son.
Yeah.
And
there, Jonathan. Yeah. But you see, we ask these questions sitting in an Arsenal seat, and you have to remember that we were out the gap in women's football, 25 years ago. We were ahead of the curve there. So our women's football in Arsenal is way more established. So if you look at that league, I think there's only 12 teams in it.
Yeah.
West Ham are way behind where the Arsenal were on that journey. Remember that Arsenal used to win the league in the Doncaster Bells. Doncaster Bells used to
Doncaster Bells. That's going back a while. Yeah.
I don't think, and maybe I don't think the West Ham women's team. I'm not saying they wouldn't be ready to play in the stadium. They wouldn't be ready to attract the type of crowds that are interested in us. But we're 25 years ahead of that.
Yeah.
Do
you think, though, Eamonn, do you think they should be given? Do you think they should be given a chance, like say a game or two at least, maybe over their season? Just to give them that, exposure and experience playing on it.
You see, it's a judgment call because
if
there isn't a ticket demand there,
well
then are you better off playing in a smaller full stadium or a larger empty stadium? It's not going to do the players any good. So really, what you've got to do is get a push on to promote the game, and then generate ticket demand. And when you have that ticket demand sorted, well, then you can say, right, now we're ready to do that. But the point I'm making is that we were a quarter of a century ahead of that. We had crowds coming to watch the Arsenal when they were playing in Barnet, for years and years and years. So I'd say it's inevitable that it will happen, because the Women's Super League is actually great to watch. But it will happen over time, I think.
Yeah, I do hope it's there. So the West Ham women actually bet the Arsenal women's team as well last season in the league. Yeah, so hopefully it will come to fruition. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Your favourite goal, or goals, Martin, in this fixture from down the years? Have you got any that stand out?
I don't know. Again, just because I was watching it with Amo, it'd be one of the goals from the 2016 game. There's been a few, hasn't there? Nothing springs to mind though. It'd be one of those, and they, I mean, we haven't got anything I can remember like the Rice goal against us last season, which was a screamer. Which he didn't celebrate. I'm still not sure how I feel about that, but I'd say nothing springs to mind. I should have.
Declan Rice also scored a screamer in that stadium to beat us 1-0.
He did on his birthday as well. Remember that? Yeah, it was in the Emery era. That's right. Just a screamer from outside the box. Yeah, is there goal? Like you've witnessed Arsenal and West Ham, Eamonn, for yesteryear, your memory stretches far back than I'm sure Merton's as well. Definitely mine. Is there goals from yesteryear that you remembered were absolute screamers?
There's one goal in particular. We played them at our place in the Wenger era when we were, when we were constantly being a top 4 team. But it was a battle to be a top 4 team, and people should never forget what he achieved doing every year and year. But we played them one day, and I think we'd had about 30 efforts of goal, and it was 0-0. And Alex Song got a diving header in the 92nd minute.
I remember that.
And it was just the place lifted, So I think it was Halloween or something like that, But, But that's the one. That's the goal that I loved. I also we had a great win there. I think it was 5-0 or 5-1, and Sanchez got a couple of tasty goals that day. So they'd be the ones that I remember.
Yeah, there's been a few players that have played for both clubs as well. Lucas Fabianski.
Learn to be too young to remember Trevor Brooking. He was that knackered that he lay down and the ball hit his head and went in the FA Cup final in 1980.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of that's pasted all over the stadium. Pictures of that and stills and stuff. Yeah. We're dining off that for years to come.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Hey, still man in the old club box as well, and Westham as well. Yeah. Will you stick your head on the line, Martin? What scoreline would you go for this game on Saturday evening?
I keep thinking every game's going to be when West Ham turn it around and everything just clicks into place.
Yeah.
So I could be blindly optimistic and say it's going to happen this weekend, but my heart says it will. My head says probably not. So I think we'll dig away at a draw maybe, but I don't expect the points, to be fair.
Can I get more optimistic?
I think maybe a score draw.
Score draw sounds good. Yeah, there's always been goals in this fixture. Yeah, and it's you just never know. To 5:30 kickoff as well. I find the Saturday evening games there's always goals involved. Because from the fixtures that have come forward in the daytime, you kind of know where you are in the table type of thing. Yeah. Eamonn, if you were to stick your head on the line and be a Jonah.
Well, I told you on the last preview show, I'm not doing these predictions anymore. I think it's going to be 28-1 to West Ham, and we'll be unlucky not to get a second with a ricochet. Look again. It's West Ham are a bit weird. If they don't play front foot football, I think we'll score against them a couple of times. And if they play front football, anything could happen. If they don't, I'm going 2-0 to us.
Yeah, sure. It could be a tight game. Yeah, you just never know with West Ham. As Eamonn says, they're very unpredictable. If Kudus and Jared Bowen is on fire, you just never know. And Areola can have one of those games where he saves everything, or he can have a howler. But
I suspect it will be Fabianski in goal. He seems to be Lopetegui's choice, and Kudus, you're. He won't be there, but
he's not playing.
He's not playing, is he? Not sorry.
No, his suspension was extended. Fakaicha on the ball, Martin. You referenced him earlier. He's very, very good on the ball, but he's one of those guys that he has to be on it to be really good.
Yeah.
And I think if he's on it, he can kind of dictate a game. And if he's not on it, But look.
And as Martin said earlier, it could be a game for Somerville.
I think he's the one to watch. I think if he starts, I think he's been building, and his confidence is getting there, and I think
is he a small town boy, Martin?
Say again?
Somerville, is he a small town boy?
Somerville, is he a small town boy?
Jimmy.
Oh right. Mate, I should be used to these jokes by now. You opened with a couple. Still catches me off guard even now.
Woo!
Yeah, keep an eye on
It wouldn't
Somerville.
be a show without Eamon bringing on the antics. No, it's
Tell me
been
why.
Martin is speechless.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to be.
you just never know. You think you get used to Eamon, but then you just never know week on week, just like Arsenal season. It's been great getting your insight, Martin, and it's been a pleasure having you on. And it'd be great to have you back for the return game, which is penned down for the 22nd of February. So it'd be great to have you on for the return
Yeah,
match.
it'd be a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I wish you the best for the rest of the season, Martin, and also have a great Christmas as well, pal. Martin Hullett there, an avid West Ham fan, and enjoy the game at 5:30, pal. Also, thanks to Eamon Donnelly, as always, for coming on the preview show. As always, you can catch us on the Dublin Arsenal YouTube channel, where you can catch all our preview and review shows, and also on Spotify. So until then, and until Monday for the review of this game, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you then. Cheers, lads.
Cheers, all.